Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our next session, Beauty Shop, Black Women in Mental Health. My name is Shayla R. Colbert. I am Black Mental Wellness Brand Ambassador, and I will be supporting you during this session. Of course, they sound an alarm off in my city right now. Sorry about that. But I'd like to introduce our amazing speakers we have today participating during this session. I first like to start off with our moderator, Dr. Brandi Pritchett-Johnson. She's a licensed psychologist. She's an alum of the HBCU, Clark University. She obtained her master's and doctorate degree at Western Michigan University. She is also the owner of the Diane Morgan Group, and she's also the founder and CEO of Future for Teens. Our first panelist is Dene't Radden. She's a master hairstylist with over 10 years of experience. She's an entrepreneur and wellness advocate. Our next panelist is Brittany H Brady. She holds her Master's of Education degree from Harvard Graduate School of Education and Prevention and Science. She is the Director of Advancement at Education and Open Doors. Our last panelist is Victoria Berkley. She's an industry pro artist who masters in clean beauty for everyday women and her industry clients. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Brandi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Saturday. I am overjoyed and delighted, and I really mean that, to be in the space with my sister friends that I am just meeting for the first time, Miss Brittany, Miss Dene't, Miss Shayla, all of you that are joining us today, and Miss Victoria, who I think will be joining us as well. I am, as I was already introduced, Dr. Brandi Pritchett-Johnson. Everybody just calls me Dr. Brandi. And today I am showing up as Brandi, another Black woman, Black mother, sister, friend, seeking, owning, claiming my own healing. And I am so excited that all of you are here with us today. I expect that we will have a vibrant, hopefully pretty deep and vulnerable conversation. And I've got my cheat sheet with my list of questions prepared and ready to go. I really want to thank Black Mental Wellness for hosting this and also for the invitation. I live for these moments, and I'm sure our panelists do as well. I would like to start off, let's just jump right in. The topic and the focus of this session is Beauty Shop, Black women and mental health. So what better place to start than Black women? So my first question, and I'd love to hear from everyone on the panel briefly, is what is it like for you personally to be a Black woman in America in 2020? Take it away.
Loaded question, but I'm glad that you're asking it right now. I had to wear my pink and my pearls because we do have a Black woman who is about to be in the White House. I'm elated about that. So I have a new rush of energy from that. But I'll say it's complicated, it's one of those things where you're looking around and you're wanting to make sure that, you're aware of the environment, but also taking care of yourself, taking care of your home, taking care of your life, and being mindful about that. So as a Black woman in America, I will say I feel both needed, but also misunderstood, but beloved amongst other Black women.
Thank you for that, Ms. Brittany. It's complicated. I can't think of a better way to put it. It's rich, it's broad, it's challenging. It's earlier, Ms. Shayla had a shirt on that said resilient. How can we not be? So it's complicated. It really speaks to me. I'd love to hear from our other panelists. Yep. I'd love to hear from our other panelists today. Ms. Dene't, what is it like to be a Black woman in America? I hope we didn't lose our friend. I am hoping she will return with us shortly. And when she does, we will circle back around. In the meantime, I do want to remind you, because I failed to do this when we first started. If you, as viewers and listeners, people that are participating in this conversation, if you have questions, I have my little roster of questions that I'm going to make my way through for our conversation. But if you have questions or comments, or even amen, I can relate, that's me, by all means, please put it in the direct chat. Here in virtual land, it is the only way for us to interact with you in an easeful way. So I will be kind of keeping my eye on our chat box as well. So I've got another one for you, Miss Brittany, as Miss Dene't comes back. And this one is connected to the beauty shop component of our topic today. What is beauty to you? What does beauty look like? What is it for you?
Well, for me, it's, many people say it's an internal job, and it's kind of become cliche, but it's so true. My grandma used to tell me when I was little, she said, a lot of people like pretty people, Brittany, but are you pretty on the inside? And it always stuck with me because you can make yourself look beautiful. You can make yourself look attractive. You can do all of those things, but at the same time, how are you showing up in spaces? And so to me, beauty leaves a lasting impact if you're truly a beautiful person. I have a lot of family members that say, you can put makeup on a pig and make it work. And it's one of those things that is true. And so really working at being a beautiful person inside and really doing that internal work, shining that light inwardly and making sure that you are being a person that you would want to be around is of critical importance to me.
To piggyback up on that, Miss Brittany, who has influenced, you referenced, I think, your mom, who has influenced that perspective? And how is that, I guess I want to say, how is that challenged or supported in mainstream media and in the world?
And we're Black women, right? And so how frequently do you see yourself painted as beautiful? However, I know I'm beautiful. I know other Black women are beautiful because, thankfully, because of my mother, because of my grandmother, because of my ancestors and my foremothers who taught me that beauty is an internal thing, I don't seek external validation to confirm that I'm beautiful. And so really listening to those wise words and really understanding that beauty is an act. Beauty is something that you're constantly striving toward and embodying, and not necessarily something that you can put on and take off. Like, I felt just as beautiful before I put something on my face and got on here and my hair was wild and I was all over the place. I felt just as beautiful then as I do right now. And I think that my mother gratefully really taught me that. She's a very humble woman. Sadly, I do not embody that same thing. But, I'm striving toward it. And, my mom was always very clear that, you need to be an actual, beautiful person inwardly, and really, it demonstrated that to me in her work and in her life. And it really challenged me as a young woman to really understand that you can see a lot of beautiful people, but they aren't necessarily doing beautiful things. And so really looking beyond surface level and understanding that you didn't ask to be beautiful. That's just something that you were born with. And so the real work is in showing up in a way that reflects how you feel externally.
I so love and respect that was instilled in you, because you're talking not just about the experience of being beautiful or the perception of being beautiful for oneself, but how that's then expressed and gifted into the world and how that manifests from the inside out. I mean, I'm sure all of us have met, tolerated people in our life that appear typically to be gorgeous or stunning. And then the more you get to know them, there's a woundedness or an ugliness that actually starts to influence the way you see them. So I love that you're giving voice to that. And I also like to share that I have found that the moments where I feel most beautiful is when my sons, they're so young, they're 5 and 8, when they see it. I could be in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning my hair all over my head. I smell a little tart, excuse me for my frankness, because I've been working all day. And they will say something like, Mommy, you're so cute, or beautiful, or you're my best friend. And it's like, that can help put it in perspective. I'd love to invite our sister friend, Victoria, to this conversation. I see she's entered the conversation. Hey, Miss Victoria, please join us. Thank you for being here on our panel today. We are talking about beauty and what does it mean to be beautiful. And not only that, I'm going to bring in our first question. What does it mean to be a Black woman in America in 2020? So you get a dual question to bring you into the conversation.
I can't hear anything.
Brandi, I can't hear you at the moment.
Can you hear me, Miss Victoria? Miss Victoria can't hear me, but Miss Brittany can. Is Miss Dene't with us? These are the woes of virtual land, y'all. I'm sure you've had to deal with this since March. Miss Brittany, it might just be me and you for a little bit. We're going to keep checking in with our friends. I'm loving the activity in the chat box. I'm experiencing a lot of like high fives and so true. We hear you. Yes, Brittany, I see that. There's Miss Dene't. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, ladies. How y'all
She's
doing?
there. And let me check in. Miss Dene't, am I saying your name right?
Yes, that is correct, Dene't.
That is correct.
Okay, because we got to get it right, Dene't. Okay,
Thank you.
so you got to join us in this conversation really quick before I move on. We were saying, what is it like to be a Black woman in 2020? And with that said, what does beauty mean? Because after all, we're in the beauty shop.
That is a fully loaded question. I think when it comes to being Black as a woman, so many of us are right? Because we've really been forced. Realign and reconnect on life that we want to lead. I think 2020 for Black women is a year of evolution. And when it comes to I think beauty is just without that, you are internally. Accepting yourself, your shadow, and realizing that without that, and that every part of us is necessary. Yeah, especially for everything that we're facing.
Yes, and we are facing so much in these days. Yet I also find, and I have to do this, I'm a therapist, I can't help myself, yet there's also so much potential to like adapt and adjust, which is something I have known myself and so many of the Black women in my life to do so incredibly well. We're very skilled at that. I just want to say to everyone out there, there may be some technological issues here. If slavery don't stop us and misogyny don't stop us, telehealth ain't gonna stop us either. So we're gonna get through it, and make sure to mute your mics when you're able. It may assist with the echo. So I want to keep moving, and I got a specific question for you, Dene't. So as a stylist, a master stylist, we all know it is common knowledge that the beauty shop is one of the first spaces for therapeutic conversation. Okay, that's where we have a lot of our sister girl chats and our vulnerable dialogue. What are we talking about? Like, what is on the minds and the hearts of Black women today in the beauty?
What's been on the minds of the women that I have been graceful enough to be in presence of and to assist is how to move next, what's next, and how to continue to keep our sanity. And creating a new mindset around who we believe we are. Because I think everything that we've been faced with that was out of our control from birth until now has been built on foundations that had nothing to do with what we wanted for ourselves or what our desires are. It's been just a survival. We've been surviving. So now women are trying to switch to thriving and trying to understand their identity and what thriving looks like, because now we have to rebuild completely. We can't continue to stay and build on the same foundations that were actually created for us. Now we have the opportunity to recreate and realign our visions for ourselves, for our kids, for our communities, and those things that we dream of and we have spoken of all these years. We now have an opportunity to change that. So many of the women are looking to re-identify who they are, so that they can continue to move and pivot without having to continue to break down. We're tired of coming to those spaces where we have to hit rock bottom to build ourselves up again. So we're never going to see rock bottom again. The women that I'm experiencing, rock bottom is not an option anymore. We are only talking about growth here on out, and every circumstance that comes to challenge us is a circumstance for growth. It's not to tear us down and to have us falling apart. So all of the women are sitting in the chair, and while they are coming with venting, and trying to get some things off their chest, they're coming knowing their goal is to be inspired. They're coming not to find some reason to just complain and to find other things to justify the bad experiences they may have been holding on to all of these years. They are looking intentionally for things to inspire them and to build on, especially for the next generations.
Let me tell you first, you said a whole lot that I think is a reflection, especially as I'm looking in the chat, of what resonates with all of us. And you said a whole lot that I think really needs to be acknowledged and said, that on some level, what you're hearing in the beauty shop is a certain level of self-accountability and liberation. Like, I ain't going back. By no means necessary. Today's a new day and tomorrow is yet to come. So how can I, press forward in ways that I feel empowered to do so? Hi, Miss Victoria. I see you're back with us. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can see you. I'm so excited. I made it.
Awesome. Can you join us in this part of the conversation? Miss Dene't just says so many valuable elements. I asked her what kind of conversations are Black women having in the beauty shop, okay, the metaphorical therapy session. And she said, we're all trying to figure out what is our next move. Absolutely. How are we going to, in alignment with the theme of this very conference, move from surviving to thriving? Mm-hmm. And I want to make this point before I ask you a specific question. As a psychologist and a woman, right, a Black woman, mm-hmm, what I've noticed is that, sometimes our skill sets are so used to, like on a habitual level, my own included, connected to surviving, that when we're thriving, it don't work as well. It don't work the same. So we have to make adjustments in how we show up and what we do. Mm-hmm. So my specific question for you, Miss Victoria, is, I know I got one for you specifically. As a pro artist in this industry that is kind of bumping elbows with entertainers and people that are highly publicized, we know the expectation for the Black woman is at times very unreasonable. Like, our humanity is sometimes not honored in the way it should. And I know in reading your bio that your area of focus and specialty is in enhancing natural beauty and natural features. Yes. So I'm wondering, in a space or a sector with so much expectation, how do you do that?
I think for me in my business, when I started in 2009 and 10, I was very, very lost in it. Like, I didn't want to, I'm gonna jump into the question, but I want to give you a little background of, when you start off as a Black woman in this industry, trying to find your place. And I never wanted to become an urban artist. So it was very important for me to understand how to get those magazine jobs and how to work with those Caucasian women and those big magazine companies and those things. So I wanted to stay true to women, of all ethnicities, but especially my women of color, because we always get put on the back burner, whether it's the cosmetic colors or, you know, being put on the magazine front covers, or, you know, talking about our hair texture when it comes down to photo shoots. So I had to place myself in a position to understand what beauty really was, right? So a lot of times in makeup, we're looking at it in the forefront of putting makeup on the face, but it's more so deep inside. You know, I always say all the time that with my clients and new customers, it's very rarely about makeup when they sit in my chair, ever. But I had to, you know, understand that women wanted to learn how to be enhanced instead of taking away who they were. You know, because sometimes artists will take so much of the product and change the whole exterior of the person that they don't even recognize themselves. So I wanted to be the artist that made sure that they still knew who they were, knew that when they sat in my chair, they were already beautiful. So I didn't need to change their exterior, but just show them, you know, where they could go in it. So once I found that avenue, I just stuck with it.
So how do I make my appointment?
Come on down, girl.
Okay.
Damn.
You can hook me up. And then I'm gonna stop your way, Dene't. I'm gonna come your way. Okay.
We the team anyway.
We work together so closely now that it's a beautiful thing. And me and Dene't actually have this conversation a lot about our women. And we have our own personal things that we talk about, which is amazing, you know. And like I said, I love this job, and I know God put me in that seat because we rarely talk about makeup. It's about kids and life and husband and becoming your own boss and trying to, you know, be something great. And how did I get in this field? And it's not more so on how did I get it, it's how to maintain it mentally, you know.
I really love that, and it really kind of brings me full circle to Ms. Dene't was sharing and what I'm noticing in the chat box. Someone expressed some appreciation for the point that was made about the desire to find ourselves and identify our purpose. Mm-hmm. So for all of you women, Brittany, please jump in there. How do we as women identify and move in alignment with our purpose when there's so much white noise? The expectations as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a professional, as, you know, how do you align yourself with your purpose? How do you do that for yourself?
I know for myself, a big part of that for me was cutting out the white noise, which can be very hard for many people, especially if you know your life is very busy and requires you to always be giving of yourself to other people. You have to pull back and set those boundaries to cut off that white noise, because we're suppressed. We're suppressing ourselves and our desires for the satisfaction of pleasing others or getting the job done, mm-hmm. or trying to stay on the next move of everything outside of ourselves. The first step is to, like I said, cut out the white noise, get to understand and pull up what it is inside of us that we've been ignoring and suppressing without outside influence. I know for a while I had to dearest friends, and Vicky was one of them, and she called him like, look, where are you? I haven't seen you, but it's necessary to back away from social media, stop going to the events, do your work, come home, do what you have to do, prioritize your life in your environment, so that after those priorities have been handled, you can sit back and you can take the time to detox your mind, detox your thoughts, and detox other people's experiences that we have inherited into our systems. And so that you can then allow your true desires, your true self, the childlike mindset that you had and those dreams that you had to put away because you needed to get a job and you had to do this to be on a certain pathway to your success, and realize most of the time that pathway to success is not where we want to be. So now it's redefining what is success to me, because success could really be us being a stay-at-home mom, you know, and having a happy family. It doesn't have to have anything to do with money or the job or any of the accolades. So redefining what success, what happiness, and what joy looks like to you, and prioritizing that and cutting off the white noise is one of the detrimental pieces to us realigning ourselves.
I was going to say everything that you said, absolutely. I think I saw in the chat, and this is something that I have been focusing on personally, is taking the time to rest. Still, like, how can you know what you need if you never actually rest? Like, You have no idea. You're just running from one thing to another thing to another thing. And I think, you know, I love girl bosses. I love for us to be entrepreneurs, but I also want to see Black women rested. I want to see Black women happy and joyous and abundance. Like it's deserved. And I think that for me, I had to carve out spaces for that rest and carve out spaces to be still, for me to figure out what actually brings me joy. Like the current pandemic and quarantine, you know, you're limited in what you can do. I love to travel. I love getting my makeup and my hair done. Like those are things that I would frequently do as like a pick-me-up. But in this current environment, I am not able to do those same things at the same frequency that I would want to. And it really makes you look inward and say, okay, well, what brings me joy outside of anyone else? In the earlier session, I really appreciated someone saying like, it's important for us to come home to ourselves, because I was just sharing with a friend that is really what this season has done for me. You know, when you're in the process of being a partner and a mother and a friend and a sister and a daughter, you're doing all of these roles, but who are you when it's just you? Like, who is Brittany? Who is Brandi? Who's Dene't? Who is Vicky? You know, like when it's not all of these other things, and really ushering in that joy and that space to show up as that person consistently has been critical for me. And I don't think that you can really find out your purpose until you do that. You'll just be going through more of the motions, to what Dene't is saying, and redefining success for yourself and decolonizing your mind to say, success isn't just what's in my bank account, although that would be great, but joy and abundance counts a great deal. Emotional intelligence counts a lot. And those are things that Black women are inherently gifted with. And so yeah, that's where I am.
Well, for me, what I had to understand is it takes a lot of energy to put yourself in someone else's rat race. I had to slow myself down and understand that it's all in my head, and that's mental. If you think about it, you know, it's as easy as to say, you know what, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to do that. 2 seconds later, you know what, I'm not going to do that, because you can talk yourself out of treating yourself that quick. So I had to understand that for my mental, I had to know that I'm in no one else's rat race, that I am 39 years old and I can do what I want when I want. And just like, you know, the lady said, success is what you make it, because you have people that have hella money and kill themselves. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta balance out what really makes you happy. Like, you know, I have people in my inbox, oh my God, I want to do what you're doing. I want to do, you can't do what I'm doing, because see, God placed that in me to do what I'm doing. You can do what you want to do in your lane, in your life. Because see, if you say, I want to do what Dene't's doing, I want to do what Brittany's, I want to do what Brandi's doing. You can't do that, because they have their own struggle, their own stories, their own timelines, and everybody gets tired. So for me, I gotta break my mental down. I'm a mom of 3. I have a teenager, I have a 5-year-old. I'm a wife. I run businesses. I have students. So when do I take my time? I take my time constantly, because I have to tell myself that today I'm not going there, and I can mean it. You know, I say it all the time. I have a sister that suffers with mental illness. So it's very close to me, and she's a Black woman. So I have to find myself to give her time and give her some of my time, because it's needed and it's important. So that's why I say, you know, when people say, you know, I want your life, or I want to do what you're doing, you don't even have a clue what someone's life entails. So I try to take my time to breathe. And I think that's more important. You know, just like Brittany said, take your time to rest. And if you have to find that balance in your life, if you don't find that balance in your life, then you're lost. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what cars you drive. I don't care how big your house is. It means nothing when you don't take that time for yourself, because you can burn out.
And that's serious.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of the rat race thing, because so many women are just flourishing in entrepreneurship, one thing that I'm praying and I am hopeful that our women recognize is that, you, like Vicky said, you don't have to do it like everyone else, because this person is in every room with everybody. They could be doing a lot of nothing.
Yes.
And it can actually be getting them nowhere, as opposed to taking that time to rest and allowing yourself to process the work that you need to do to actually accelerate your timeline. Because this person that's all over the place, feeling like they have to do everything, which equals out to nothing, could actually not have the money in the bank. They can look good, but they are worn out and they're not seeing any traction in the business. So recognizing that rest space and not being a part of a rat race and creating your own own timeline just by allowing God and the universe to make those moves for you. You know, it's a lot of times we mentally wear ourselves out and don't realize that when we're sitting down, going and running inside of our head, it is physically de-energizing us. So taking that time to create your own everyday I'm resting schedule and realizing I don't have to do everything all the time is one of the things that I definitely hope our Black women recognize, because we don't have to be in every room. Our names are in the room. There are people there that will support us. We just have to know it and believe it.
This is in so many ways rocking my world, because what I'm a part of what I'm extracting from what each of you are saying, incredibly powerful, influential, intelligent bosses, Black girl magic on the screen that are incredibly accomplished in ways that I don't even know of because I'm just getting acquainted with you, that a part of your message for the people is take care of yourself. Like, and I think that's so pivotal, because we're also speaking in contrast to what I imagine we're all growing up in, which is that strong Black woman schema, the invincible Black woman syndrome, the you got to work harder, you got to work smarter, there's a glass ceiling, you got to do more. And I really respect that so much of what you're speaking to and giving power to is our humanity as women. Like, I need a nap. Okay, I need a break, and I have a boundary, and I need some quiet time, and I don't have to do everything. And I think that's in direct contrast to the implicit messages that we get on a daily, that you got to hustle, you got to do more, you got to work harder, you got to work faster. So I so respect your wisdom, and I'm sure it has come at times at a cost. Can anyone share, if you're willing, and then we'll get into some more general questions. Can anyone share like an influential or pivotal moment in your career connected to your Blackness and your womanness, whether it was an experience of oppression or discrimination or an experience of victory? I don't know. I'm a therapist. I'm interested in your stories. So can you share a pivotal moment that influenced who you are today?
I think for me, I'm going to start. I'm all the way at the end, y'all. I came in late, okay? So I think for me, my year in 2013, correct me if I'm wrong, being able to work our president's inaugural ball, to be able to be a Black artist, working around so many white artists, to be backstage with our floatist at the time, to have met her, to have seen how poised she was, to work alongside all of the major artists that was back there. And I'm not starstruck. I've never been in all my career. That's kind of weird that I can't be starstruck. I hate that, okay? I want to stand out, you know? But it was pivotal for me because I could remember waiting on the answer to get that job. And it was also pivotal because when I got the job, the agent said, don't take this the wrong way, but looking at your website, I couldn't tell your ethnicity. So that struck me, one, as something good. And then it struck me again as something as, what do you mean? But I got it, y'all. You know why I got it? Because when I started the career, I didn't want to be labeled as an urban artist. Not a Black artist, but more so I couldn't do the jobs that they expect the others could do. The Glamour and the the People's Magazine, the Elle Magazine, some of those jobs that we rarely get hired for. So that pivotal moment was for me actually to be backstage, not with the celebrity artists and working on them, but actually meeting the president and being a part of history. That was bigger to me. That was bigger to me.
Wow.
I have to quickly comment on that, and then we'll get to Dene't and Brittany. See, I love these kind of questions because I'm over here excited for you, and I wasn't even there. And I think it's so important as Black women in a sisterhood to celebrate that with you. I didn't hear nothing about being starstruck. I heard a moment that you got to experience and honor, and I'm so glad you got that moment because usually it passes us by because we're like working and we're proving and you got to honor that moment. Like, look at what I've done and where I am and who I'm with. And you should be so proud of that. I'm so grateful that you had that. Next time you could take me with you. And also the dichotomy of that experience that's situated in our Black womanness, that there was this real obvious microaggression going on. I couldn't tell you was Black, but then there's also this honoring too, like that you marketed yourself in a way that goes beyond, not an exception to, but beyond your identity as a Black woman. So kudos to you. More stories. Brittany, what you got? Tell us a pivotal moment in your life that is
well, mine is not as uplifting. And I don't know how you can come behind FLOTUS and POTUS. I mean, you know, like that's pinnacle. But I would say when I was pregnant, I was looking for work. And as I was looking, you know, I work in fundraising, I work in the nonprofit space and work in education. And sometimes you can still be the only Black woman in the room. And I remember after I had my son and after I was working in a new role, one of the roles that I was really excited about that I didn't get, I saw one of the people at a luncheon and she came up to me and she was like, oh, hey, how are you doing? How's your son? Or how's your child? I don't think she knew I was having a son. I can't remember if I shared that or not. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, how did you remember I was having a baby? Oh, that must have really factored into your decision-making process. And I just think of all of the different times where being a Black woman, one, makes you stand out a lot more. It makes people remember you. And sometimes it's an unfair barrier. And it reminded me that you can do all the things, you can have all the stuff, and you can still not get the things that you think that you deserve. However, what's for you won't miss you. And I love what Vicky was sharing about like the fact that she knew what her lane was gonna be. She knew what she wanted to do and really carving out those spaces and saying, you know what, when you don't want me in your space, that's fine. Because if that's the case, then I don't need to be in that space anyway, you know, and really affirming that and understanding that. And now thankfully I'm in a position where I am able to thrive, where I'm able to show up as myself. And really working toward just continuing to do that for myself and for others, and especially for the young people that I'm blessed enough to work with as well. So that was a pivotal moment for me because I was like, oh, this is okay. Applying as a pregnant Black woman is a very unique experience. Right. And I think that we need to talk about it more because, motherhood is a beautiful journey, but people don't always respect mothers. And that's something that I did not know until I became one. So that was a whole different thing, but yeah.
Brittany, that was fully pivotal in a different way to Victoria's story because you're really speaking to the intersecting complicated like complexities of our identities. Like you're proud of yourself as a mother. It's one of the most joyous roles we have. And yet on some level, it may come at a cost and a price. And it's like, how do I navigate all these things that both bring me joy and strife? And, you know, that's a lot to contend with. You're making me remember, and this isn't necessary, this may be one of my pivotal moments. I remember working at a pretty prominent institution. And if I may say so myself, I felt like I was killing it. I was working really hard and had a great reputation. But 6 months into the position, I got pregnant. I was pregnant with my first child, with my partner, my husband, and I was terrified. I was a 29-year-old woman with a PhD, terrified. Like, oh my goodness, I got to prove myself. Like, what is that? And I remember after working really hard to create a name and have influence, which I think I did there, 3 years later or 4 years later, we had a work party. And one of my colleagues said to me, when we did, you know how you do superlative awards? Her superlative for me was most likely to have a baby. And I had 2 babies in 6 years at the job after getting many awards and doing all kind of stuff, and that's your superlative, that's what I'm known for. So I my heart, I feel you. I feel like I can empathize with what you're describing. Miss Dene't, take us home. Like, what was a pivotal moment for you? I love the stories.
Oh my goodness. So my pivotal moment, it was very interesting because it broke me and it healed me. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, which caused it to be so pivotal. So almost about 2.5, 3 years ago, I had to walk away from a business and a 20-year friendship. Went into another circumstance where I was working in another salon and began to experience the same cycle that I was going through in that first situation. And instead of me feeling like something bad was happening to me, I had to, because it's like, no, this is happening again. This is too familiar. I'm missing something. I missed something the first time. And what I realized is that I was experiencing, this was another opportunity that wasn't happening to me before me, because I, again, after so many years, failed to recognize who I am, my worth and my value. And I think a lot of us Black women, we shy and we shrink ourselves down because, again, we have to hide our pregnancies. We have to make sure that we are not showing who our color is so we can get into the right room. You know, we have to overwork ourselves just to show that I got this. And, you know, and that can diminish your confidence. You know what I'm saying? We should not have to overdo ourselves. So for me, I had to recognize, all right, so I was coming in and I was killing it. So I was in my confidence. But as soon as somebody saw me, but my confidence was to help build others. So now that I'm pouring into myself, it's a problem. And so what I had to recognize is that it's not me. It's that people are still trying to show up for themselves, and having someone else come in and they're seeing what that looks like can make them uncomfortable. So I took that as an opportunity to finally show up for myself. Like so many people would see so much in me, and I would see, you know, little sparks of it, but could not fully vision it. And so having that opportunity come to me, it required me to step back, step up to who I am, what I'm capable of, the greatness that is within me, and recognize that it isn't just for me, it's for other people. And because I've spent so much of my life shadowing and shrinking, that it re-identified who I am and in who I was and why I was that person. I don't even recognize that person again, being who I am now. If I could go back and relive it, I wouldn't change it, but I could see how things would be so different, you know? So just having an opportunity, which came in the disguise of pain, you know, really it shook me. It shook my whole foundation. I had to rebuild myself in a completely different way that I had never seen before. You see confidence on people, but you can't, you know, it's hard to just know, well, how did she get that confident? And sometimes it could be hard to explain. So being in a position where I had to figure that thing out in those times of my dark shadows of the night and isolation and in prayer and, you know, and everything else, it was a lot of forgiveness for myself that was given, forgiveness and compassion to other people. And that changed my whole view and look out for everything in this world. So for life, that was a pivotal point, pivotal moment for me that changes everything that I do.
Wow. Shadowing and shrinking. I don't know. That's just ringing out in my ears. Like y'all done had about 6, 7, 8 quotables over the last 45 minutes. And I'm looking for my pen because I want to write them down so I can re-reference them. But shadowing and shrinking. Wow, that just really, for some reason, sticks out to me, and how to navigate that. Look, I realize we're coming up on time, and I really want to ask one last question, and I would love to bring my attention for our last few minutes to our those of you listening and watching. I am thoroughly enjoying the comments and your expressions of your experience. Please, if you have questions for any of our panelists and or myself, throw it in the chat, and I'm going to reference that for our last few minutes. My last question as your moderator, though, is who shows up for you? And most specifically, I want to read how I wrote it, or how it's written. and how it was provided for me. As a Black woman, what helps you to feel protected? And how can people in your life show up for you? That is so rarely asked. So I really want to throw that out there.
I would go because I just had this question today, actually. And my client was speaking on how she's pregnant and is going through a lot, and she feels like the people who are supposed to be there aren't supporting her. And what I had to first have her to realize was, one, people who don't know how to support themselves cannot support other people. But two, learn how to support yourself first. When we align with the support inside of ourselves, we automatically attract those tribes and those people who will support us. And as hard as that may be to some, it is actually simple, because you don't have to do any work but be that support system to you. And the work is just every day practicing and renewing your mindset to learn, what does showing up for myself look like? Therefore, when you're out in the world, you have no choice but to search for opportunities and proof of that support to you in everything else that you do. So just one, I think we cannot expect love, the divine love that we deserve. We cannot expect much of anything else from outside of us until we have it within us. And when we are in that space, there's no searching, it comes right to you. And thankfully, once I aligned with my value, my worth, and my ability, those women were right there. It's like they were waiting for me. And I think that's what a lot of us need to realize. There are people that are waiting for us, that are tribes waiting to usher us in and to support us and to give. There are people who actually want to pour out support. But you have to be open and recognizing that it is available to you, and first start with yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Ms. Victoria, Ms. Brittany, for our final few moments. Who shows up for you?
For me, I would have to say that my husband is so amazing because, you know, and I always like to think about my childhood and how strong I had to be for myself. Like Dene't said, you show up for your own self. And then when God aligns people around you, they have no choice but to follow suit, or you're out of there. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, he's like my backbone. And it's very rare that you find that in a spouse that will support everything that you do. I mean, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. But I think the great thing about that is, as if he didn't, I will be okay, because I'm that strong of a person that I will always show up for myself. And I encourage women, you know, and I say men and women, but I encourage our women to show up for yourself all the time. That's, you know, I could have a birthday dinner and I could be the only one at the table, and I will laugh and I will drink and I will pray and I will do the same thing right there for myself if I had a room full of people. And I think that's the confidence that you have to gain for yourself first before you expect anybody to show up for you. Because if you don't even know what you want for yourself, how you don't know what you want other people to do for you? How do you know what you want your surroundings to be? You know, how do you know how you want your girlfriends to be? Like, I have a group of girlfriends, like Dene's one of them. I am very particular who I call friend. You know, and a lot of people don't like that. I'll say, quick, you're an associate. But I mean that to say that I don't expect everybody to show up for me just because we have a conversation or just because we run in the same circle. I don't expect that from you. But the people that God put closely to me, that I could tell my secrets to and tell my life and my fears and want them to understand me, then those are the people that I expect to show up for me. Because I put them in my circle. I put them in my life. I put them right beside me. So if they don't show up for me, that's on who? That's on me, because that's what I chose. So I'll say first show up for yourself, and then the people who are around you can expect, or they should know what you need and the time that you need it.
Thank you, Miss Victoria. Miss Brittany.
Yeah, obviously, yes to all of that. Like, you know, when you think about taking care of yourself and really like setting the tone, setting the tenor for how people treat you, like we spoke earlier about like who modeled for you how you're to be treated. And I often say, like, my grandmother is a queen, was a queen. Like, she's transitioned, but like, you were not running up on her all wow, because she had a tone, a tenor, a way that she approached the world. But I think that you have to come into that knowing and into that understanding with yourself. And that's why I mentioned rest earlier. And that's why I mentioned really taking care of yourself, because when you're running after things, you don't have the energy to really figure that out. And also, you're not really in a space to usher in that energy. Like Dene't was saying, you know, as soon as she made the shift in her life, it's like those people were waiting for her. And it's so true, because I'm finding that in my life as well. I had a conversation with a good sis yesterday and was saying, you know, I'm learning a language toward myself. And I'm also finding other people that are also learning that language as well as I'm learning it. And we're all able to learn it together, that language of compassion, that language of tender care toward myself. Yep. And when I think about who shows up for me, my partner, my husband, similar to what Vicky said, I am eternally grateful that God saw fit to give him to me. He is balancing. This morning I woke up and he had done my whole to-do list before I even opened my eyes. I did not know that love like that existed in plentiful abundance, but it does. But you have to usher it in and really be open to it. I really found that people showed up for me, like everybody is saying, when I showed up for myself. And be clear, that does not excuse those that don't show up for you. That doesn't excuse people that, you know, you trusted that mishandled that. That is no reflection on who you are and how you show up. But instead saying, you know what, when this happens, I love myself enough to walk away. I love myself enough to say no. I love myself enough to establish boundaries that support my highest self. And that's all that I'm going to do. And I'm going to choose myself first every day. And really centering that and really meaning it. Because people say that and then they'll bend over backwards to make people like them and the people please. And it's not serving you. I always ask, how is this serving me? And people might think that that's selfish, but you only have one self. So why give everything away? You know, you have to keep something for yourself. So, you know, that's really, I show up for myself, but I'm really grateful. And I also say that my communities of Black women, I have so many friends that I'm so grateful for. Danielle is one of the organizers of this, and she's one of my good friends. And I just have so many Black women who put the mirror up to me and show me myself and say, sis, like, take it easy, rest, relax. You're doing amazing. You're beautiful. You're powerful. And we pour into each other like nobody else does. And you know what? That's enough. I'm tired of people saying nobody protects Black women, because Black women protect women. And are we no one? We're here. We're here with each other. And so centering that and ushering that in and really calling that out when it happens is of critical importance for me.
Wow. That felt good to hear all of this. Thank you for the gems, right on expectations. Y'all are really speaking to the souls of the people watching, and myself included. In closing, because I really want to make sure you all have an opportunity to check out the Black Parade on the expo link. And I apologize if I haven't got to all the questions in the chat. I do want to contribute and just share this last bit that because a couple of things that have come up in the chat is the strong Black woman syndrome or schema and how healthy or unhealthy that is. And I think that a part of Ms. Dene't made a great question, and you've all spoken to it. A part of showing up for myself has been asking for what I need. I think that sometimes a part of showing up is actually asking for help or asking for support. And that's something that I'm consistently trying to learn how to do. So I want to make sure to acknowledge that none of you women are endorsing this idea that we got to do it on our own. We got to do it by ourselves. All we got is us. If anything, what I hear is awareness. Notice and be mindful of what you need and seek it, claim it, ask for it, own it unapologetically. And so I thank all of you for demonstrating that that is possible and that people do respond, because each of you spoke to your network of people, no matter how big or small or even singular maybe, that you're getting that. We're not in this alone, whether it's a sisterhood or our partner. and making ourselves available to that kind of love and respect. So with all that said, I wish you all well. Enjoy the rest of the Black Mental Wellness Virtual Conference. Check out the Black Parade and the Expo link, and maybe one day we could do it again, okay? Thank you all. Have a great Saturday.